The title of this video was originally supposed to be, "This Sterling guitar is better than a Music Man." But, as I'm sure you've noticed, such is not the case. I would have loved for it to be, and that was the plan all along, but I cannot lie to you. The Ernie Ball Music Man Kaizen is a guitar made in collaboration with Tosin Abasi of Animals as Leaders. I've already made a video on this channel about Tosin's own brand Abasi guitars, which I'll link at the end in case you haven't seen it yet, but the Kaizen was a collaboration with Music Man outside of Tosin's own brand. And Ernie Ball have recently decided to give the world a budget-friendly version of the Kaizen through their sub-brand Sterling by Music Man. It was first shown back in January at NAMM, and day one of the show, after trying it briefly, I approached a lovely lady called Sierra at the Sterling booth and told her I need to have one of these guitars when they are released, and ideally I would like to be the first one to get one. Because at least on paper, it has something that makes it better than the original. I've also put some emails up on screen here while talking just to prove that I'm not bullshitting and they hit me up for a launch campaign or something. I really did approach them at NAMM and say exactly that. Well, the Sterling Kaizen is released, and here is mine. I did receive this from Sterling by Music Man free of charge so that I could make this video, but as you will see in just a second, no guitar company has enough money to make me lie to my audience. Insert joke about music is win here. So this is the Sterling by Music Man Kaizen 6 in Fire Mist Purple Satin, retailing for $849 US, made in Indonesia. And yes, in some ways, at least on paper, I think it's better than the original. Before I get into the reasons why though, let's go over the specs and what differentiates it from the Ernie Ball Music Man version. If you don't know, the core Music Mans go for, on average, about $5 grand. Sometimes they'll be on sale for $3,700, sometimes they'll cost like $6.5. Nayato body in Fire Mist Purple Satin, like I said, a roasted maple bolt-on neck, rosewood fretboard, 2 in-house humbuckers, 3-way selector, 1 volume, 1 tone, no coil split, 24 frets, material not specified, a plastic nut, a floating in-house Sterling tremolo, and the same Steinberger gearless tuners that are on the Ernie Ball Music Man version, perhaps the highlight of the Kaizen besides its rather unique shape. So besides the craftsmanship, what's different from the $5,000 USA Ernie Ball version? The USA version is also a bolt-on, which some people still believe is some sort of exercise in cost cutting and not just a different construction, as though making an import neck-through guitar is super expensive. And so the main differences are the woods, though not exactly different in quality, but really only in species, the scale, since these are a standard 25.5 inch as opposed to multi-scale, the pickups, though the Music Man version for some reason doesn't use Tosin's signature Fishman pickups, but something of their own instead, the plastic nut, the fact that this one does not have a push-pull coil split of any sort, and of course, the tremolo. The only other limitations are the color choices, black and purple, and the fact that this one does feel like a guitar that costs $850 or less, and not multiple thousand. It feels like a budget instrument, like the higher end of Squier or Harley Benton, which is not a bad thing because price-wise it isn't very far from those, and you must remember the rule of signature gear. Tosin wants a little bit of money from each sale, as he should, since his name is what's selling it in the first place. But what did I originally think made it better than the Ernie Ball USA version? Well, these are regular scale, which means they do not have the godforsaken awful tremolo of the original Kaizen. I fell in love with the sleek, beautiful Kaizen shape the minute it was released. You can tell Tosin was involved in designing it, because I know how much the man loves supercars and everything with cool curves and aerodynamics and whatever, and this is just that. It's awesome. I wanted one so bad because of how beautiful I think it is, and because I like the innovation of using the banjo-esque gearless tuners so nothing sticks out the side of the headstock. This is also a much more natural way to retune while playing, as opposed to having to reach up here when really your hand is supposed to be down here while playing. So it's sort of like having a reverse headstock, but almost even more comfortable because your hand can just naturally go from being behind the neck anyway to sliding up it and just reaching behind the headstock. But when I first tried an Ernie Ball Kaizen at Guitar Center in Hollywood in 2024, that horrible multi-scale tremolo made me put it right back on the shelf and leave. Feels unnatural, it feels unbalanced, and in my experience it doesn't really stay in tune that well. As much as I love Ernie Ball guitars, and I do, that is not a $5,000 guitar. This is just a tremolo. Nothing special, just an OEM floating tremolo for a standard scale guitar. And if those are my two choices, at least on paper, I know which one I'm going with. However, unfortunately, it is not good. Many brands work with me frequently simply because they value my honesty and transparent feedback, and that's why you watch these videos as well, because you know that I'm not going to bullshit you, and I'm going to say exactly what I feel like I have to say about it. And so I have to say it. This is not good. What I don't have a huge problem with that others might is the fact that it lacks basic features such as a coil split or a graphite nut. It's annoying, but it's understandable for the simple reason that the USA one exists, and there needs to be a big enough difference between the two to justify a price gap of like upwards of $4,000. I like to draw the parallel here to my other favorite hobby, watch collecting. The Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch costs €8,000. The budget Swatch Omega collab version, dubbed the Moon Swatch, is $400, is designed to look basically the same, however it's made of plastic. And besides the movement on the inside, which you can't see while wearing it anyway, that is the biggest difference. But if they had given it a stainless steel case and bracelet, which costs next to nothing to manufacture, they would be taking many people's incentive away to drop a few months' rent on the real one. That's what this is. Coil split pots do not cost more than regular ones, and a graphite nut costs maybe a few cents more per unit. But if you make the budget version too feature-rich, you might as well discontinue the core version. I don't really think those are selling super amazing in the first place, otherwise I doubt they would constantly be on sale everywhere. But there is a reason Mercedes don't put V8 engines in an A-Class. But that bit doesn't bother me. The fact that it's riddled with QC issues and doesn't stay in tune, yeah, that's not the best. When I got it, I figured the incessant fret buzz must just be because it was shipped by sea, it was in a shipping container for fuck knows how long, and so the neck is bowed or something. So I gave it a setup. Set the action to my preferred 2.5mm, made sure the neck was straight, and only then did I realize that, no, none of that was the problem. The problem is that the nut slots are carved deeper than the Mariana Trench. At that point, you can fuck with action and neck relief all you want. It's buzzin'. So I looked past the buzzing because I still wanted to find out how the pickups sound and how it felt to play for an extended period of time. Except that any time the period extended past about 5 or 6 minutes, the entire thing would go out of tune again. The perils of having a floating tremolo on a budget instrument. You can block it with something like the Engel Hardtailor or the Allparts Tremolo, but I don't have any of those on hand, and that also shouldn't really be a requirement for being able to play a brand new guitar. And mind you, I wasn't using the tremolo, I never even attached the whammy bar. I didn't really feel too inclined to test it though, because it wasn't even staying in tune without using it. Now, of course, not every unit that comes out of the factory is going to have super deep cut nut slots and be untunable, but this is the one that I got, and if I hadn't gotten it, a customer would have. And that is why I do appreciate when companies don't look over something before they send it to me, because I want the experience that a customer is going to get, right? If they sent me a fluff piece that they review first and take a look at and do all the fretwork on, and then what you get is junk, that would be rather disappointing, especially because it would get me nothing but hate comments. So I do like that I get the customer experience most of the time, but this is not a good customer experience. The concept is amazing. The colors are beautiful, it's visually flawless, there aren't like any finish blemishes or anything, it is quite greasy because I've now played it quite a bit, and the pickups sound quite good too. But none of that matters when it's outclassed in playability by 10 leagues by a Squier Sonic Strat for €169. And I'm really not sure how that happened, because up until this one, I've been a fan of every single Sterling by Music Man guitar that I've tried, especially the Jared Dines signature. And I mean, like, that's one of his main guitars, in spite of the fact that it's a Sterling and he has much more expensive guitars. That's how good it is. So what happened here? I can't even give you a super good sound demo just because of how bad the tuning stability and the fret buzz are. Most of my guitars have a little bit of fret buzz just because I like my action quite low, but the buzz on this one is so bad that you basically hear the buzzing through the amp more than the actual signal. I think this guitar needs to go back on the R&D table, and if reimagined with something like a non-floating Wilkinson-style Strat tremolo, it could be almost perfect, provided the QC gets a bit better as well. It offers the same awesome looks and superior ergonomics as the USA versions. The tuners that you might think are ugly, but you will come to love if you try them because of how comfortable they are, and the construction or woods don't really differ from the core USA Kaizen. I'm sure the quality of the wood is slightly different, but this is still roasted maple, and everything is still very solid. The build quality itself is quite decent. So on paper, it is the perfect modern metal guitar. It's just not executed very well. This video also absolutely leaves room for a potential redemption video if they take the feedback to heart like other brands have in the past, and I would be the first in line to do exactly that. So I hope that day does come, but for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.